Hello, my name is Javier Stefan, my associate is Andres Mayon. Our presentation is on social media forensics. A quick overview of our presentation. We'll present a brief introduction and background on social media networks and potential social media forensic strategies, as well as talk about some tools that are currently available in the market. Even though these tools are available, these tools unfortunately are not developed with legal requirements, so we will propose an investigation model. And last, we will conclude our overall presentation. A quick introduction. As many of us are members of social media networks like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and many others, as well as owning smartphones, these networks have grown in popularity exponentially in recent years and have become part of our daily lives, allowing criminals access to personal information and intercepting communications among users, law enforcement and laws being a few steps behind and not developing a proper forensic investigation model. Currently, there are several toolkits for acquiring the evidence for these criminal activities, but there are no procedural model that allow law enforcement to proactively gather legal evidence. We have proposed a model of social media forensic analysis to help law enforcement gather legal evidence. A little background about digital forensics and social media networks. Digital forensics has received an increasing amount of attention in recent years. Since social media users are uploading personal information not knowing the protection of their information, when registering for social media networks there are end-user license agreements, which are usually accepted blindly. These agreements are allowing social media corporations to collect and profit with third parties. That's why when we sign up into our accounts, the advertisements we see are tailored to the user. This data can be used by malicious third parties, allowing them to impersonate a user for sinister purposes like espionage, social engineering, and even identity theft. A social media page has just become a digital crime scene with no proper investigation model and proper jurisdiction. Several social media forensic tools are used today: FTK Social Analyzer, Internet Evidence Finder, and Social Snapshot. So, FTK Social Analyzer is a digital investigation platform built for speed, stability, and ease of use. Some features of this toolkit are advanced gallery views of images and video with automatic identification of explicit images using flesh tones, shapes, and image orientation. Superior email analysis of 18 different email types among the most common used. Volatile and memory analysis expose registry artifacts in memory, parsing and displaying information. Internet artifact analysis include over 40 popular internet artifact carvers like Facebook, Google Drive, and Chat, Dropbox, and many others. A sample of TK Social Analyzer, which is displaying an overview of communication between domains, which allows the investigator to view communications between specific social networks. Internet Evidence Finder, another available tool for investigators. It has been separated into two classifications: mobile forensics and computer forensics. Mobile forensics supporting ISO and Android search for artifacts in file system dumps and physical images to gather intel, including SMS, email, and browser. Computer forensics is a Windows and Mac OS file system support. Automatically discovers hundreds of types of digital forensic artifacts, quickly extracting the meaningful content and metadata discovered, which then compile and organize digital evidence in a structured format that can be easily reviewed by forensic examiners. As we see here, there are over 60 plus internet artifacts, including social networks like Facebook and Twitter, provided by Internet Evidence Finder. Social Snapshot being the last forensic tool mostly used by third parties to web crawl and parse data from user social media networks, using an automated browser and OSN API, including user profile and contact list. This is an overview of Social Snapshot, which is a report helping third parties generate revenue with user profile and contact list.
Hi, my name is Andres Manjoma, and let's talk about the research model. The research model encapsulates the process of a social media investigation. It has 4 sections divided into 2 different environments: physical environment and digital environment. The first part is the preliminary, where an outline is created of the requested investigation. These requests are usually by law enforcement, personal clients, or corporates. After that, there's a construction. It's a plan where the investigator will have an idea of what social media environment is going to be investigating, what information could be used in the next step of the investigation, and getting the authorizations to do this. After that, there's a notification for corporate investigations where the person or the corporate will be informed of what's going on. When it's a criminal case, they would not be informed. After that, there's a survey where all the data that's being used, the physical information that is captured on the scene will be also in there, and also what machine and what environment is being tested. In the second step, we had the evaluation, where the presentation is the first part. The report created in the first part will be presented to the corporation, the client, or the law enforcement with all the data and all the information collected. Then there will be a justification part of the process where the investigator has to prove that all the information that they gather is correct and will have to defend it against any doubts or anything that the client or law enforcement have concerns on. After that, there will be a review where the client, the law enforcement, or the corporation will decide whether they need to gather more proof, whether this is good enough to go to the next step, or if they have any doubts concerning the process. This takes us to the digital environment part and the third step, which is the analysis, where first a hypothesis of what's being checked will be created. The report would be created depending on what they think was the reason why this situation is happening or the person being investigated did what they did. After that, that report will create more information on the person or the actual situation, and it will be gathered for the next step. And this takes us to the last step, the investigation part, where it's identifying the first step. Supporting the data that is already there is an important step to follow. So a lot of social networks and other information will be gathered, and they will try to find names, age of the victim or the person being investigated. And in this step, all the information gathered could be used for the searching part of the investigation, where a tool for forensics would search automatically information regarding that specific person or victim. After that, there will be filtering because the amount of data gathered is a lot and not all necessary in this part. So they want to focus on what they could be using to find the necessary information and what is going to help them in the next step. And this takes us to the capturing. This is very important because this data has to be clean and the integrity of the data has to be perfect. So it could be used in the legal stage or when you're in court, or whatever information that needs to be presented could be used as legal information. So after completing those 4 steps, it's important always to understand that each step is necessary and it's really important in order to get the data and information that we are looking for. Investigations could take long, it could be really stressful, and it could be a process of making sure all the details are followed the way they should be. So at the end, you could have legal data to present. Now let's talk about the importance of social media forensics. Social media networks are the most popular way to distribute malware and spam. And this is a really concerning situation where social media forensics is a way to find a solution for this problem. After some research, it is known that 44% of this is coming from Facebook, which is a big number and it's really shocking. AppNets are a group of applications that collaborate to create cascades. This is the same role a botnet would have in email spam. By grouping these applications, the number of people that would be affected would be massive. Most posts that are on Facebook are created actually by these applications without the knowledge of the users. It is known that They work in a group of 144 applications in groups of fives that are doing these cascades, and they're passing this malware and this spam in massive rates. Most times users have no idea that they have they have installed applications where on the back end is actually distributing viruses. Most of these applications come from little links that say, oh, give me a like or click here, and it actually takes you back to Facebook. But what the user doesn't know is that this is actually working in distributing stuff on your behalf. So it is important always to make sure that you don't click every link that you see, and you don't just take for granted that all this is really important to keep in mind, and that is really, really important to have an understanding of the dangers of a simple thing just like Facebook. You might ask, where is this coming from? Well, it comes from three different sources: applications, plugins, and manual postings. It is important to understand that most times applications are installed without our knowledge, the same as plugins. And also, after doing some research on the CSV file, every post has a post ID. When this column exists but it's empty, it is known that it's made by a plugin. When there's no post ID, it is known that it's a manual post by the user. In the table we have 95% of this information is from a single cascade, where the hacker could identify what they are attacking and make sure that it's the same source. On a single distribution method, 95% of this is just one cascade, which is really shocking and really scary. Besides that, the application is 44% of the time, which is the biggest, and this is by clicking a simple URL or liking a single page or logging into Facebook and seeing that it redirects back to Facebook, and you say, that's weird. But what it really was doing, it was installing that application that will continue to run without your knowledge. And this is something that most users might be going through and have no idea this is happening to them. Also, it's important to add to this that Facebook requires your permission to post in behalf of you. And you will say, well, I have never given Facebook permission to post for me. But by liking a post or clicking on a simple URL, this is actually doing it for you. So this will continue to go on no matter what until you change your password or you completely erase the data and everything on your computer. Now the plugins are 32%. And this one is where users are lured to go to websites or share links where you might find a really nice, cool video and you share it. And this is considered social sharing, and where you're giving the plugin the permission to do the same thing. So this is something that might happen not as often, but a lot of people that like sharing posts that they see might be infected as well. And lastly, the 12% is manual postings, where users are doing this on purpose. There's people that like to do bad things and like to harm others, so they do this on purpose, and they like to make sure and help for other people to get infected in their computers. So this is unfortunate, but it's a pretty big percentage. The way all these application plugins or manually are being done to make users want to click on their links or social engineering, and they're using our social curiosity to make us click on links like, oh, what is that? Maybe would you like to see this? Click, and then you will click on it wanting to see what's the next part of the video or what they're talking about. Now they could do a psycho curiosity where they could dare you to do something. So they'll be like, I'll dare you to click on this. and some people will click on it. So now, what about the free stuff? That's something that most of us would probably have fall for once at least. And then where they just, all right, you want this free something, and you click on the link. Now there's combo winning where they offer you something free if you beat their game, or if you beat their maze, or if you complete their puzzle. So they will exploit that because most people want to win something free. And then the nonsense. There's a lot of links that are not in English, that are too short or too genetic, and some people actually click on them. And there's also uh, links where there's no text but just images, and when you click on the image, you're still being infected. So there's a lot of ways that people could get infected, and some of those ways are not that obvious. This brings me to the conclusion of future work. There are many concerns in social media, and forensics are doing a great job to getting an understanding of what's bringing these problems and how to tackle them. This is why log files is a great idea that could be developed, where large amount of data files from mobile phones are collected and put in a single place where the investigators could do research on this network data and find a solution to many of these problems. This brings me to the next point of it. There's no real prototype made yet. So there are tools, but not all tools are standardized, because some investigations might require different requirements than others. So what could be usable data for one investigation could be corrupted data for another. So it's important to have a standardized prototype of how to conduct this type of investigations, and to have an understanding of what is the minimum requirement that needs to be completed in order to have a standard way of doing this. And this is why future applications are really important and needed. It's important that these applications are created and developed in a way where all this work could be simplified and could be unified in order to have a better outcome of the situation. And most important of all is having general knowledge of the concerns. It doesn't take for a forensics engineer to be the only person that understands what's going on. A regular person that just logs into Facebook daily just to see photos or click on things should have an understanding of what's going on and what the dangers that these applications as well as other applications bring. So the general knowledge part of the problem is a big one, and it should be distributed to general population in order for them to be better protected of these concerns and to minimize this problem. When the social acknowledgement of the situation is a higher rate, the chances of this happening are a little bit lower. And this concludes our presentation.